This is the video for 8-6, which is word problems involving volume. You're still going to use the same formulas that we've been using for cylinder, cone, and sphere. Formula for a cylinder is volume equals pi r squared h. Volume for a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. And for a sphere, it's 4/3 pi r cubed. Cubed means the third power. You still have to pay attention whether you are rounding your answer to the nearest tenth. When you round your answer to the nearest tenth, you include pi in your calculation. And when you leave your answer in terms of pi, you don't include pi in your calculation. You just stick it at the end of your answer. You also have to pay attention whether you are given the radius or given the diameter. If you're given the diameter, you have to divide it by 2 to give you your radius. So the first question says a can of paint is 15 centimeters high and has a diameter of 13.6 centimeters. What is the volume of the can? The first thing that you need to do is see what shape you have, because you're either going to have a cylinder, a cone, or a sphere. So a can is a cylinder. I think it helps to write down the formula that you're using. So volume equals pi r squared h. So it has a height of 15 and it has a diameter of 13.6. So we're still going to have pi times r squared. Now, we're not given the radius, we're given the diameter. So we have to take our diameter and divide it by 2. 13.6 divided by 2 gives you 6.8 for your radius. So that's the number that we need to sub in here. So we're going to have 6.8 squared times your height of your can, which is 15. Take all three of these terms, multiply them together if we're rounding to the nearest tenth in a problem. So pi times 6.8 squared times 15 gives you a big, long, ugly decimal of 2,179.008665, blah, blah, blah at the end. We are rounding our answer to the nearest tenth. The 0 is in the tenths place. We have to look at the number that's after it. That number after it is 4 or lower. So that 0 that I underlined is going to stay the same. So we have 2,179.0, or you could just write 2,179. Either answer would be acceptable. If we are leaving our answer in terms of pi, remember you have to type in everything except for the pi symbol. So we still have pi times 6.8 squared times 15, but in the calculator, the only two things that you're going to type in are the 6.8 squared times 15. All that we're going to do with our pi symbol is stick it at the end. So 6.8 squared times 15 gives you 693.6. Remember, you do not round. That's what you actually got on the calculator. When the questions are leave your answer in terms of pi, you do not round them. If you get a big, long decimal answer, you just put that big, long decimal answer in front of pi. You only round in the questions that say to round. So our answer would be 693.6 pi. Remember, in class kick, you don't have that pi symbol. We would have 693.6 and then write pi after it for pi. No spaces in between the 6 and the p. Taking a look at the next question, it says an ice cream cone has a height of 5 inches and a radius of 1.5 inches. What is the volume of the cone? So obviously we are using a cone as our shape this time. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h is the formula that we're going to use. It says that it has a height of 5 and a radius of 1.5. So we're going to sub those numbers into the formula where they belong. So we have 1/3 times pi times 1.5 squared times 5. You're going to type in all 4 terms into the calculator. 1/3 times pi times 1.5 squared times 5. When you do that, you get a big, long, ugly decimal of 11.78097245, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth. The 7 is in the tenths place. You need to look at the number after it. That number after it is 5 or higher. So this 7 is going to round to be an 8. So rounded to the nearest tenth, our answer is 11.8. If we are leaving our answer in terms of pi, you're still going to have your 1/3. We're still going to have our 1.5 squared, and we're still going to have our 5. But I'm just going to stick my pi here at the beginning because I'm going to put it at the end. I'm not going to include pi in my calculation. The only thing that you type into the calculator is 1/3 times 1.5 squared times 5. You type in everything except for pi. When you do that, you get an answer of 3.75. Just stick that number in front of pi. Do not round. You only round on the questions that say to round. When it says leave it in terms of pi, you just leave it. Whatever you get on your calculator, you write down in front of pi. But again, when we do the leave in terms of pi, we don't include the pi in our calculation. Taking a look at the last one, a globe has a diameter of 14 inches. What is the volume of the globe? Well, when you think about what a globe looks like, a globe is a sphere. So we need to use the sphere formula. Volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. Remember, cubed is to the third power. So be very careful. It says that it has a diameter of 14. Remember, we never want the diameter. We want the radius. The radius is half of the diameter. So you have to divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7 for our radius. So we're going to have 4/3 times pi times 7 to the third power. Remember, 4/3, you could just type in 4 divided by 3, or you could have 1.3333. So 4/3 times pi times 7, caret button 3 for the third power. Type all 3 of those right into the calculator. You get 1,436.75504, blah, blah, blah. We're going to round our answer to the nearest tenth. The 7 is in the tenths place. We need to look at the number after it. That number after it is 5 or higher, so this is going to round up to be 1,436.8. When we go to leave our answer in terms of pi, we're still going to have that same formula. We're still going to have our 4/3, except we're not going to type in pi into the calculator, but we are still going to type in our 7 to the third power. So again, when you leave it in terms of pi, you type in everything except for the pi symbol. So all that we're typing into the calculator is 4/3 times 7 to the third power. When you do that, you get 457.3 repeating, so 0.333333333, and then stick your pi symbol at the end. So you got 457.33333 pi. Again, be very careful. Sometimes you're given the radius, sometimes you're given the diameter. So you have to divide that diameter by 2. Just make sure that you're using the right formula for the right problem. And I will put the formulas back up here in case you want to write them down.